All right. Hi. Welcome back to what's the best thing we watched that week? We're still calling it that, right? What's the best thing we watched this week?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, for lack of a better thing, but it's a mouthful, isn't it?
It really is. Let us know in the comments. Give us some suggestions. That would really help. Anyway, I'm here with Movies and Munchies with Chris, myself, and Ruben from the Ruby Tuesday. I'm loving doing this weekly segment of the best thing that we watched. Maybe personally, because our views might change, or we may differ, which I think keeps it interesting.
Absolutely.
And I think we've got a really interesting show this week because there's been a lot. It's one of those weeks that I feel like was pretty full for TV series and movies and just entertainment news, that kind of thing. There's a lot going on. So we'll put time codes as we usually do, I think.
Yes.
So you don't have to sit through all the waffle that you're possibly not interested in. But I can't see why. I mean, we're so entertaining.
Terribly entertaining here.
Exactly. But Chris, would you like to kick things off this week with what you got on your list?
Sure. Yeah. This one I have not reviewed yet because it's still going on. It's on FX, at least in the US, and then FX on Hulu, and it's called Reservation Dogs. And I don't know if okay. So it's basically the premise is it follows this group of kids who are on they're Native Americans, and they're on a reservation, or a town that's kind of like was part of a reservation, and they're trying their best to get out. They feel stuck and they just want to go, and it uses a Native American cast, and it is so hilarious. There's one more episode that I'm behind an episode, but the first two episodes I would laugh out loud at some of the situations they got in. You know, they're 30-minute episodes ish. And so it is very situational within there, but the characters I'm discovering are just so rich and so complex, but they're still attainable and very accessible. Like you can relate, or at least maybe not to an entire character, but you can see pieces of them and be like, oh, I get that. That resonates with me. And they're, just their antics. And so here I'm looking at some of my notes that I had written. I like also there's this tension between, you have the younger kids who want to get out, and their clash, or their well, not necessarily clash, but just they don't necessarily adhere to all of the ideals and all of the beliefs that their older generations have. And so you get to see some of that. And in one of them, one of the main characters, when he either passes out or gets knocked out, or just even sometimes goes to sleep, he has this vision. And so he has this like spirit guide. And that guy is hilarious too, because he's from, I think, the Battle of Little Bighorn, but he speaks with modern language and modern things. Like, so he's been around all of this time, and just, and bring some of this in, and just he's deadpan, and it is, I've had a blast so far watching it. And so I'm very excited to see just what else they're going to do, what they're going to uncover, and how they're going to make these characters evolve.
Wow, that sounds really unique, quite original. I saw it on the Hulu screening kind of packaging, and I thought, is that a Reservoir Dogs series? And then I read the synopsis, obviously. Yeah, okay, I have no idea what that's about. But it's good, and it's short, like short episodes?
Short episodes, yeah, very, very bingeable. Yeah, and so I don't know how many episodes there are going to be in the season, but I hope that it succeeds. For what I've seen so far, it makes me want to be invested in the show, and it makes me want other people to see it, just to experience it, because you're right. It's original. I haven't seen anything like that. And I love that that they're featuring a Native American cast, that they're not just taking a whole bunch of other people and tossing them in there to try and portray a culture, but actually using those people. So it's
really important. Yeah. So you managed to make it funny, relevant, and cultural specific, which is it's tough to do, but if you can get it right, by the sounds of it, they have done. So I think I'll put that on my list for sure.
Right on. Well, what's top of your list?
Yeah. Okay. So say it with me: CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk. Yeah. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about at all.
Okay. Wrestling. I'm talking about wrestling. How are you in the world of wrestling? What do you know about wrestling?
Okay, so I grew up watching Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, all of them. From there, I know that there's John Cena and there's The Rock. I've pretty much fallen off probably back in the 90s, I fell off of that, but still understand that it is massively popular.
Yeah, I mean, especially in America, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's huge. So what's been happening in the world of wrestling is that WWE isn't quite what it used to be because of how they treat their wrestlers. So they're on the road for like 320 days a year, and they don't get like full medical. You have to be right up at the top if you're... This is third-hand knowledge, so maybe I'm not, but I'm just saying this is what I've heard. But on the other scale of it, you have the Wrestling Federation, AEW, which is they work 2 days a week and they get full medical and paid just about as much. So this side of the wrestling is just becoming huge. And so there was this one of the characters, CM Punk, I forget his name now. If you're a fan, you'll be like, how could you not know his name? I'm sorry. But I was geeking out a bit last night because he had his return to wrestling for, I think, the first time in 7 years. And we'll try and put a clip in if we can find it. The roar from the crowd, you couldn't even hear his intro music as he came in. The stadium was massive. It's as big as like I've seen in WrestleMania. Totally full and everybody chanting his name. So the reason why I'm bringing up CM Punk, because I like wrestling, but I'm not like a totally massive fan. There's a series on Starz. It's a Starz original series called Heels, and the main actor. Let me just get it up there for you. Okay, so the short synop promotion, vying for national attention in small town Georgia, and so we've got Stephen Amell from Arrow, Alexander Ludwig, Alison Luff. Faces and people that you will recognize once you see them. There's 8 episodes in the first season. They're an hour long, and I made the mistake of starting to watch it at like 10 at night. And come 2 o'clock in the morning, I was like, okay, I need to go to sleep. But the next day I watched the next 4, and I'm just in love with this series. Like, I'm not a huge wrestling fan, but such is the dynamic of the character building in this that you are instantly in love with the characters, and you love to hate the bad characters, if that makes sense. So that the bad characters are really nasty in this. But what's interesting is a lot of the bad characters have redemption stories as each episode goes on. And so you end up with one of those things at the end where it's such a massive kind of drawing of all these storylines that come together for the last episode in episode 8, and you're like on the edge of your seat and you're like, damn, I'm not sure who I'm rooting for here. It's that kind of thing. So at the same time, we have almost a tournament arc. I don't know if you like those in anime, where the baddie's got to beat the next baddie. And here in wrestling, we have what people consider wrestling's fake, right? It's just all story and soap. But here it shows you the skill of what goes in. You really start to understand. A bit like Glow, if you ever watch the Woman of Wrestling on Netflix, Glow. So you get to see that, but you get to see the nuances of what it takes to run a business and keep it running in today's day and age. And so we have some phenomenal acting, amazing score, and it just kept you wanting to click over to that next episode. Every episode is like an hour long, and I didn't feel the time at all. Even though it's intense drama, it's got lots of sex, lots of swearing, violence. By the end of it, you're like, I feel like I've lived these people's lives.
Oh, wow.
And so that's the best. You need to watch this. It's fantastic. It's like A+ all the way for me.
Oh, wow. Right on. Now, is it single season, or do you feel like it's going to continue on?
No, I think we'll get more, especially with CM Punk, because he was in episode 3 of this season as a different character, not as CM Punk. But with how famous he is, I think his fame and Stephen Amell's fame from Arrow has enough audience to give it some longevity for them to maybe find an audience of their own. Which will hopefully give them, many seasons to go. I don't want it to outstay its welcome, but I feel like you could really write a lot of interesting story here.
Right on. Well, part of it, when you were describing it, part of it reminded me of the Tom Hardy movie Warrior. I don't know if you ever saw that. That had Joel Edgerton, and so just good. that struggle between brothers, and there's so much more than just what's going on right on the screen there. And that,
Yeah.
okay, so that's...
It's like that, but there are times where you're like, you want to scream at the screen because you're like, I can't believe you've done this. Like, just sit down and have a conversation while you guys doing this. You're destroying your family. It's that kind of really emotionally kind of engaging. There's a character arc that I love that I won't talk about, but I knew it was coming, and I think some people are going to have issues with it because of the... How do I say this? That's what it is. Because of the current state that we live in, where things are changing and the balances between who gets what job and what culture, that all, there is a female storyline that comes in this that I thought was amazing. And then not because she's female, it's because it was written so well that you're like, yeah, totally behind you.
Nice.
So much fun.
Right on. Well, good. Okay, so Heels. I'm gonna have to check that out. Is it weekly release or is it all at once that I can?
I think it's weekly. Yeah. Oh. But I'm sure you could get the screenings. Ask Stars.
True. Yeah. Okay, but that's good to know. That's good. Well, and if it is so good, then watching it week to week is something that you become to anticipate. Like it. It becomes that weekly event.
Like the Disney stuff.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it's good, I don't mind it. I don't want.
Yeah.
If it's kind of pointless from week to week, I don't want to have to wait week to week. But
no, I wouldn't want to wait for this one. I was so happy that I had more episodes. I was like, oh my gosh, this is painful. I need to know.
Right on. All right. Well, you're lucky because what?
Sorry, no, I cut you off.
No.
I was just going to ask what's next on your list.
Okay, so this one actually I watched yesterday. Totally surprised me. Reminiscence. It came out both on HBO Max and in theaters, and it had like zero marketing. I think we talked about it maybe last week or the week before. Like, I don't know. I'm not really excited to see it because I don't know much about it. There was barely any push for it, and even on like Rotten Tomatoes, it has a terrible score. And so
36%.
What is it now? 36% or 20?
Yeah.
Okay.
36, I think.
Okay. Well, it was. I was blown away. Honestly, and maybe a little bit of that is because I went in with some lower expectations, but I felt that it captured the neo-noir genre just so well. I mean, you have all of your classic noir type of things where you have this private investigator who is kind of down on his luck, who's struggling. You have the femme fatale who then, strolls in off the street and intrigues the PI. And then a mystery begins to unravel from there, and he gets sucked into that. And it even has like the narration at the beginning where you have, and even through some of it, Hugh Jackman just narrating what's going on or what has been in the past. And I mean, so that if you like those type of movies, first off, that went in there. And then it infuses an ancient tale of Orpheus and Eurydice. And I didn't really know much about that. Now they mention it in the movie, and then at the very end, he gives more of what the story is, but he ends it and he doesn't tell it exactly how it really does end because that's just part of the storytelling within there. But I found on the whole, I found the movie to be just a lot of fun. Like I was engaged in the mystery. The characters were just, I kept wanting to watch them. They're very flawed. I mean, all of them are just damaged in so many different ways. But then the way that it was told, I think, it's a slower movie, which like a lot of noirs are too. That it does require patience. It's like almost 2 hours, I think. And so it's not a fast watch. They did include some action scenes, and for me, I didn't like those. I mean, I liked the action scenes, but I didn't like the change in feel that it brought because they went like hyper action almost with this just really aggressive gunfight. And it didn't match everything that had come before that. And then it didn't match pretty much what came after. So it was just like, oh, we need to infuse something here. Let's make something more exciting. But on the whole, was like, whoa. And I know that I'm in the minority, because even in my comments, people are still like, oh, this is trash. This is so boring. This is, like, okay, that's cool. I understand that it's not going to resonate with everybody, but for me, like, woohoo, oh, what a great surprise.
Yeah, I actually managed to catch it last night as well. And yeah, I have mixed feelings about it, because it reminds me of so many great films like it. So Dark City was one that reminded me of really nice noir. Blade Runner, obviously, it has those kind of feelings. Also, Waterworld. It's strange. It's such a weird post-apocalyptic world where the sea has encroached on everything, and they've really embraced their kind of new world. It feels like a realized world, which I really liked. They've come to grips with this is the new norm, like we have in COVID now. This is what life is now. And so they're going around in their boats, and they're talking about things that are derelict. There's a few stunning cinematography shots. One particular that comes into mind with the underwater scene. I won't do spoilers, but it was so vivid and so well done. I was like, that is stunning. Yeah. Where you get to see some of the world that's left behind, almost like, I guess, if you're going to go and visit a museum, but our whole world is under museum now. Yeah, it's underwater. It's kind of just framed there for us to go and investigate. So we've got this, on one hand, we've got this weird world that they're establishing. On the other hand, we've got Hugh Jackman, who is, like you said, doing the exposition with the dialogue, which I don't always like, but when you're doing a detective type of story, that comes in part and parcel. You expect it to be almost comic-like, like literally almost coming off the comic page. And I followed her down the road, and she said to me, do you have a light? And he said, I don't smoke because I live in 2021. But so there were aspects of it that I absolutely loved. But what I found difficult was it didn't really seem to know what it wanted to be. Like those action scenes. Suddenly it was like Desperado. I was like, what the hell? This has come out of nowhere. It's like just full-on gunfight. I did like the fact that his partner knew what she was doing, and he didn't really seem to, or he was really debilitated with his leg issue. So it gave him a bit more humanity. He couldn't just go in and wipe everybody out. There was a huge chance that he was going to die multiple times, and he did seem to have plot protection, as it were, because really he should have died a few times. But I didn't think anybody's acting was weak. I've noticed a few comments saying it was boring, not acted well, it wasn't scripted well. It's like, I don't know what film you guys watched. I feel like I watched a different... Because Rebecca Ferguson, again, she's fantastic. I mean, she's beautiful, but her presence on screen, you just look at her in her eyes, she holds your attention. Like femme fatale sort of character. And Hugh... a huge Jackman, as I used to call him. When you see her for the first time, he has that almost besotted look, like just absolutely undone by her. And I thought, you see, that is acting. That's a moment that he's going to, that's the woman for him. Like he immediately, like when people talk about love at first sight, that is like obsession at first sight. And he did that so well. And I think those moments like that I really appreciated. So I would lean it more like 60-70% on the film. I don't think it was bad at all. There were some issues, and it did. I think it was a bit too long for me. It in the middle, it kind of just took a while to get where it was going, especially when you knew what was happening.
Sure.
But I thought it was really interesting and brave. Like, great. Something new.
Yeah, that's what I liked, that it doesn't match a lot of what's in the landscape right now. So it kind of it tries to break out, I think, unfortunately, because of just the poor word of mouth and the Rotten Tomatoes score, that it's not going to have that opportunity necessarily to punch out a little bit and more people see it and to be able to appreciate just, hey, you know what, this is different. This was a bold and a brave move in our world of, superheroes and everything else. So,
yeah,
somebody mentioned in some of my comments, because it was nagging at me as I'm watching it. Like, I've seen some of this before. It reminds me of a movie, but I could not place it at all. And somebody had said, you know what, this is like Strange Days. don't know if you remember that film. I think it was like 1999 or something like that.
Just the Millennium film.
Exactly, yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. That's, because it deals with memories and obsession. And you even have the, like a female partner who's just strong and somebody that you can count on. And that doesn't weaken Reminiscence, even though that it's...
Strange Days is great.
Yeah, exactly. So I think another underrated film that...
absolutely. Yeah, that got slated when it came out and now has kind of got a cult following.
So maybe this one will begin to, have that hardcore group. Yeah.
I hope so, because it deserves it.
Absolutely.
At least the sets. I mean, the set work is incredible. It's visually great. It definitely places you, like, in the time zone that they've tried to create this broken planet. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. I thought it was a good addition. All right, what's next on yours?
Okay, I'm going to do my best not to do spoilers for this one, but The Witcher: Nightmare of the Wolf.
Oh, okay, yeah, don't do any spoilers because I haven't watched it yet. I have the screener.
Have you not watched it?
Yeah, I'm watching it this weekend.
Oh my God, you gotta watch it. It's so good. So I watched this with my wife, who doesn't like anime. And I watched this with my son, who loves anime, but is 16. So we got 3 different age demographics. One female who doesn't like anime, who is around my age, and then a 16-year-old boy who is very particular about the anime he watched. And we both we both switched off and went, well, that was good. Incredible storyline. Okay, so if you don't know, it's Vesemir. It's the story of the guy that trained Geralt. So it immediately just starts to add backstory and weight to the games, the books, and particularly the series that we've already had. It really gives you an idea of where they came from. It shows you about the witches, how they become the witches, why they become the witches. Answers all those stories, but then there is this political stuff that makes the witches so great, because he's always balancing, or they're always balancing, that line between what is a witcher, do witches kill monsters, and what is a monster. Sometimes men are more monsters than the monster, and it plays with that throughout the 2 hours. I mean, the time will just fly by. And the monsters you do see in it, like if you're a big fan of The Witcher, you're going to go, that's amazing. And then you're going to go, what? Because they change things up a little bit, which is great, because you want new stuff and fresh stuff. The thing that I think is a negativity about this, and that's not anything negative about the anime itself, is the world of The Witcher now has a bar that is so high. How do you go from this anime and make season 2? Because you can't do what you can do in an anime, what you can do in the live action, because the budget you don't have, right? The way that people move, the fight sequences, the amount of monsters that you can have on the screen at the same time, all of it can just be done so creatively. You can do what you want with it, right? You have a budget, but if you can think it, you can do it. But in live action, it just makes you go, oh, damn, now I just want to watch the anime. The thing that this film did make us do is we immediately stuck on the first episode of the Witcher series and watched that again. And it added so much more weight to the series. And like, I loved it the first time. I loved it better the second time, because now I have that richness of, I know where kind of Geralt came from, or how he was shaped and what world it was. It added so much more weight to it, which I think is genius, because you have these fans that love anime, you have the fans of the series, you have fans of Henry Cavill, and they've just consolidated that all into one thing. Another thing is the score. I need to own it. So good.
Okay, right on. Well, I enjoyed the first season of The Witcher. I didn't play any of the games, so I came in, blind, and I had some questions as it went along, and I'm happy to hear that this really sets up the world for what we see, because I am really looking forward to what's coming in season 2, yeah. And so this, I think, what I'm hearing is that it's going to make me appreciate the live action so much more, and then become really invested even more in it. So. Yeah.
I think you definitely will. Yeah, it's a great launching plaid. I don't know what that word is. Plaid shirt. Yeah, it's a great launching pad for those that haven't come into the world yet, because you can watch really well sequenced animation, great story. It's not happy. It's like just if you're expecting anything happy, this isn't a happy story, man. It's a sort of thing you might need to watch like an episode of The Simpsons afterwards.
Okay.
It's dark, but it's phenomenal. And then afterwards, you're like, well, that was really, really meaty. And there's a lot of meats flying on screen. So
double meaning there, huh?
Double puntundra. Yeah.
I love that word, puntundra.
Puntundra. You heard it here first, people. Yeah, so that's me gushing. I was so happy that it was good because I was worried. Because as a fan, I was like, please don't be bad. Please.
Right on. Now, do you play the game also?
Yeah,
okay.
The Witcher: The Wild Hunt is probably my favorite game.
Okay.
It's the one I play over and over because there's always something new, and the characters are so intricate. You can always find new stuff and new storylines.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I definitely know that, and I have the books sitting. Like I'm waiting. The Wachowski? No, that's the Matrix. His Polish name is tricky, but yeah, I have all of the books waiting for me to get stuck into them. So we'll see. Hopefully that doesn't ruin anything for me. I doubt it.
I'm sure they're going to be much more richer in detail than any of it. But maybe they'll enhance versus negate or take away from any enjoyment that you have.
I think season 2 of the Witcher series people will enjoy more because whereas the first one it kind of jumped in and out of time and that really threw people off a lot. This one is more chronological, so you have a following. There might be like flashbacks or this person does that, but it's much more easier linear to follow. I think that's probably a smart move because,
that was one of the things that I remember that it took me quite a while to understand what was going on of the different timelines and how they were, where they kind of were at in that timeline. But by the end of it, we're pretty much all caught up to current from what I remember. I mean, I'd have to go back and watch.
Pretty much.
So that's okay. So that's good. And then we just continue on from there. So that, it's
pretty much the Ciri storyline, I think.
Okay. Well, and that's what, December, I think, is when it comes to season 2?
December. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Something to look forward to. This kind of whets the appetite a little bit, satisfies just any.
I think I did well without doing any spoilers there.
No, you didn't give me any spoilers. So
great.
It made me excited.
The best bit, though.
Yeah. Huh?
Let me tell you about the best bit.
Yeah, please. Can you? Yeah, tell me. And then.
and then he did this.
I can't hear.
Yeah.
Oh. Fun.
All right. So what's next?
Another movie that came out in the theaters that I think is kind of like similar to Reminiscence, where not necessarily to that degree, but I still think polarizing. The Night House with Rebecca Hall, this horror that psychological or supernatural thriller horror. It's a grieving woman over the loss of her husband, and then weird things begin to happen inside her house, and she experiences just odd imagery and feelings and stuff. And I think the trailer, at least the first trailer that I ever saw, set up the movie in a whole different way than what it actually turned out to be. So I went into the movie at the beginning almost thinking like it was going to be some kind of sci-fi type of thing. That you have these there's a mirrored image type of thing of this house that she lives in. Her husband built their house, and it's not that. So that first trailer I think that they released was more misleading than what the movie actually is. I can still see that there are some, there's some issues with it. People are going to not totally be on board with all of it. I liked that it had some really good creepy elements to it. The imagery, even the way that they would use setting pieces to create optical illusions and then play with those. I mean, I got full body shivers multiple times through this. And there's one scene where I don't know how many other people in the theater jumped. I jumped in my seat. And it wasn't one of those cheap jump scares that, at least I didn't think it was a cheap jump scare. Because most of the jump scares, the camera pans in and then the music swells and something's going to go. And that didn't happen. I was just in the scene, and then something just happens and I'm like, oh, totally got me. So it was, the story itself is it's layered. I love that Rebecca Hall's character is drunk or close to drunk through the entire thing. Now she's grieving,
really?
And so she's not like fall down drunk or anything like that, and not even like how the girl on the train, at least the book, set up that protagonist. But this one, she is an unreliable narrator because she's dealing with just extreme grief and all of the questions and everything that come with surrounding her husband's death, and then she is drinking excessively or consistently, maybe not excessively, but at least consistently. And so it plays with your mind of like, what is real? What is she experiencing? Is she really seeing this or is she not? And so I think it set up a good mystery and a good thriller. I enjoyed, even like, as my wife and I were discussing it after we watched it, it was like, well, this is what I think it was saying, or this is why this person did this. And so it has some layers in there. I've seen some interpretations, and people, some are like, oh, well, no, I thought it was this. I'm like, oh, well, that totally makes sense. That's not what I was thinking, but I can totally see that. And so I like, just that it's not necessarily set in one absolute, this is only what was going on, but each of these you can make arguments for, and they don't weaken the story. It doesn't mean that, you know what I mean? Like, well, they just didn't know what they were doing. No, they crafted a really good story. The director is, and I didn't know this until after we had watched, he is the one who had directed The Ritual on Netflix. I don't know if you ever saw that. Rafe Spall is in it.
I think I avoided it. It looked too scary.
Okay. It's freaky. Also, the weird imagery and stuff like that. A lot of fun movie, but totally an aside. This one, though, it is, I think this is more thriller than horror. There are minor horror elements to it, maybe. But yeah, it's definitely, it has the thrills, it has the chills, and then that mystery and that dark, just foreboding atmosphere that it encompasses everything. And so I don't know.
Does it end well?
It has a good resolution to it. It resolves itself. Okay. So
there's a lot of those type of thriller horrors really find it difficult to stick the landing, which is always my concern. So if it resolutes itself, then I guess it's done something right.
Yeah, I appreciated the way that it ended, and it didn't feel out of left field. Like, it didn't feel earned or anything like that. I mean, you see some character progressions, and so to me, it made a lot of sense, and it felt like, oh, okay, yep, this is where we need to go. This is what was deserving, and we're good. So
yeah, okay, it is here in the UK. I just haven't caught it yet, but that intrigues me. I think I'd like to have a go at that.
Right on.
Should I go for what's next on my list?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so this is an interesting one. On Monday, this coming Monday, the first 3 episodes of Only Murders in the Building comes out. It's on Hulu, and it's on Disney in the UK for the Stars app that they have on it. Have you heard of this?
I had Steve Martin and Martin Short. Is that?
Yeah, okay. Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. There's 3 strangers who share an obsession with true crime suddenly find themselves caught up in one. 30 hours, wow, 30 minutes per episode. 8 episodes. As I said, the first 3 will come out, and then they'll do weekly episodes. It's a lot of fun. It's basically a whodunit in a building. Reminds me of things like Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window, with a weird, dry comedy edge. They aren't doing their dry comedy stuff, like gags, which I'm really glad for, because the last time I saw them do stand-up, I didn't think it hit the mark. It just felt like they were out of touch, particularly Steve Martin and Martin Short. That was for me. I was like, and I like, these are the guys that I loved, like 80s films. These guys ruled, man. They rocked. direct. And it kind of touches base on that a little bit. It references one of the characters is a out of touch theater director, and his last few like things have just flopped. And the Steve Martin is an actor that can't get any work, and I was like, seemed a little bit real, a little bit, so you can believe their characters. And then you have Selena Gomez, who's redecorating her grandmother's apartments, and that's why she's there. And so you have these three characters from different worlds meet up, and a murder occurs, and they want to be the detectives. They want to do the true crime thing of this podcast that they're obsessed. They start their own podcast, and stuff ensues. And it's just fun to watch, because what you're watching is actors that have been on screen for a long time, that know their craft well, and that can do timing. So when it's written well, when the jokes and the dialogue are written well, and you have actors like these at their caliber, then when you add Selena Gomez, who's funny but in a more modern way, you add that it's like a clash of worlds, but it just works. I had a lot of fun. It's also brave. It does some animation stuff. It does some theater stuff. It does some stuff with music. It's being creative. So you've got this whole building where like the rich elite work. I think one particular episode, Sting pitches up. So it gives you an example of where Sting, the musician, it gives you an example of how creative and basically just fun that they had making this. That's what you come away with. That this is fun, but you never know. It's one of those that you're like, the butler did it, but you don't know. Yeah, like you think you know, but you don't, which is great.
That sounds like fun. Yeah, and if it can keep me guessing from week to week, episode to episode, that's what I'm looking forward to, and then entertain me too. Oh, I'm glad to hear that at least the beginning of it has captured your attention, and it's a lot of fun. That's right.
Really good.
Nice.
So what's on your list?
I had been watching it week to week, the White Lotus on HBO. I don't know if you had seen that.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, very, very uncomfortable. And the season finale was just bonkers. It culminates, everything you see a lot of it coming, but even towards the end, I'm like, they have this mystery set up of who's in the box, and it felt like it had kind of been pushed to the wayside a little bit through the middle episodes, but it was always there lingering in the back of my head, and I'm like, oh, well, no, it's going to be this person, or no, I'm pretty sure it's this person. And by about the middle of the last episode, you're pretty certain who it is.
Okay, I haven't seen the last episode, so
so I will stay.
My hand on that.
I will stay away from any spoilers. Then it is still the culmination of characters that they have in this, which I would argue almost all of them are unlikable. That they have.
That's what I got when I started. I don't like any of you guys.
Yeah, Alexandra Daddario, I think she is. At least from the guests, she and
she's the young woman that married the guy.
Correct. Yeah, she's the newlywed, and then the son of Steve Zahn and Connie Britton, Fred Hetchinger. He plays the character of Quinn. Those two are probably the most sympathetic characters of the guests.
But even then, like, they occasionally do stuff and just like, what?
Totally. Yeah. It's I walked away from it like, good job. This was well executed, well done. And they have created this large culmination of characters that are just all messed up in all kinds of different ways. And the way they work to bring that discomfort and the anxiety from just watching them interact in the situations.
Was there actually a story?
You know what? There were, but it was more of individual storylines, I think, that then converge. Like, so you have Steve Zahn and his wife and their family, and they have their own storyline and their own drama that's going on. You have the newlyweds, who then their junk brings in, a lot of the staff and the manager of the hotel. That
I should be in that room.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, I loved to hate him so much. Jake Lacey did such a great job at being a terrible person, just ultra privileged, man-child.
I'm going to call my mom.
And it became like there were parts of it where I was so disgusted by him that I wished they would stop showing him for a while. You know what I mean? Like it ran that risk, I think, of turning me off of the episode because I'm so just
had enough of you.
Yeah, exactly. You were just a terrible, terrible, terrible person, and only because of your attitude and your behavior. I don't even know how you're treating one person this way because you didn't get your way.
How did she marry him? What was going through her head?
I don't know but whew. So there's a portion at the very end of the season that I understand why they did it, and I can appreciate that. I didn't necessarily like it.
Okay, interesting. I'm gonna have to go back and finish it.
Yeah,
see what they've done with it.
Yeah, definitely good. And if anybody hasn't watched The White Lotus, it is very uncomfortable, very well acted. Just totally worth it. And even though it was billed as a limited series, I heard that it has been renewed for a second season.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm intrigued. I mean, I want to watch. I don't know what they're going to do from there. I guess maybe they'll bring on
new guests,
maybe, and follow them there. This is going to be a tough one to follow, though, because it when you start out of the gate at such a high level and a high bar, it's hard to match that or then even surpass it and make it worthwhile to have that second season. But
yeah. Okay. I've got an interesting one for us next.
Okay.
So this film was released in 2013, and the reason why it's on the best thing I watched this week because it's one of the worst films I've ever seen, and I loved it. It was terrible. It's called Flying Monkeys, and a teenager, Joan, gets more than she's bargained for when her workaholic dad buys her a cute pet monkey who grows wings, fangs, and an insatiable thirst for blood come nightfall.
Is it a gremlin?
Exactly.
Does she feed it after midnight?
Exactly. Oh my gosh, this film was nuts. It's basically Gremlins meets the Wizard of Oz flying monkeys. They're actually in the county where what's her name gets taken. Dorothy. Oh. Yeah, and there's also a character named Dorothy. So it's modern. So it's totally Gremlins. Like it has these weird laws. If you shoot the monkey, it only transforms at night when like sun. As it transforms into this kind of gremlin thing with wings. If you shoot it, it duplicates. You have to kill it with like holy weapons.
Of course you do.
And there's this whole like back law and these special hunters that are hunting it. It's just terrible. I mean, the dialogue, the acting, the music is awful. Like I can't. There's no part of me that can justify saying, yeah, but there was one bit, I think, where a guy was pulled up in the air, and I was like, oh, they pulled the guy up in the air well. That's the level of, oh, that was cool, because it was so bad that it's definitely a drinking game. Like, have it with beer or wine or shots. No kids. Drink responsible. It's just fun. I mean, literally, their budget must have been tiny, because the CG... even at the time in 2013, you would have gone, this is horrendous. There's one bit. There's a pizza. Let me set the scene. Okay. There's a pizza delivery guy. Young kid. He's got his red baseball cap on. He's got his pack of pizza on the back. He's on a bicycle, because this is before the days of like mopeds and
of course,
bikes.
yeah.
And he's cycling up to a warehouse of, I guess, it's a farmer that was doing farmery things, and he knocks on the corrugated iron door and he goes, "Here's your pizza." And the guy grumbles something, I can't remember because the dialogue was that bad, and he opens the pizza box and the camera doesn't even try and hide what's in the pizza box. It's half a pizza. Like, their budget must have meant that these guys ate the pizza. That was their food on set. What is happening? How was this? How did they?
Who's over here eating the props?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, it's fine. I'm going to love it for what it is.
Oh.
It's a 2:00 in the morning film. You can't be bothered to change the channel, and you're like, "What is this nonsense? This is brilliant."
It sucked in the entire time, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You do because it's so bad. It's like a Sharknado level bad, you know. Yeah. So put that. It's currently on Netflix.
Okay. So what is it called again?
Flying Monkeys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, no, that's not right.
You thought it was something clever. No. Flying Monkeys.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. Well, because here's the thing too, and maybe we can do a future episode on just this, but I have a small but growing list of terrible animal themed horrors.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh my gosh, it is there. Like Amazon Prime has a majority of them.
Oh yeah, there's a cornucopia of gold there.
Exactly. So I think, let us know in the comments if that's something that you would like to see. We're probably going to do it anyway, but it would be nice to know that you support it before we do it. But still, okay, Flying Monkeys. This sounds like one of those things that I will just eat up. That knowing that it's terrible, and I'll probably get my sons in here. My wife will probably check out like before we even started because she's like, "You're an idiot. Why would you watch this?"
My wife did.
He's like, "You know this is terrible. Why are you actively doing this?"
It's the dialogue. I can't wait for you to watch it because some of it, like the interactions between people, just like, wow. Did you go to acting school? Are you the extra they didn't have for the day and they got, please come and deliver this line? Yeah.
It was the pizza guy.
Gosh.
He delivered the
probably.
pizza for the catering. They were like, we need somebody here.
But saying that, like when there were body parts, they were good, but there weren't enough of them. Like sometimes there would be a body bit that had to be dismembered, but it's just all in one tiny clump on the floor and no blood around it. And you're just like, what? This doesn't make any sense at all. The monster shredded you, but neatly packed you in that one bit. Yeah.
I can't wait to watch this. This sounds
you're gonna love
amazing. Oh,
yeah.
Right on. Well, do you have any?
On that note,
do you have anything else on your list that?
I did watch a lot this week, but I think I'll call it there. I have things that I'm looking forward to watching.
Okay.
I'm very excited. On Tuesday, I'm going to see Shang-Chi. I'm taking the whole family.
Nice.
We were allowed extra tickets. I kind of said, yeah, they sometimes do reviews with me. Can they be like young journalists? And so I've got them. So that'll be good.
Nice.
And then Sex Education Season 3. I'm going to be watching that.
How is that series? Because I haven't watched.
Hilarious.
Okay.
Brilliant. I had a few interesting comments when I did the first season. One, like, here's a 40-year-old dude watching stuff about sex education for teens, well, later teens. Should you be watching it? Like, as if, because I couldn't relate to them and I shouldn't be giving my view because they're putting that aside. There's a whole bunch of adult material. It isn't 18, so it does give, it is for an older generation. But there are the parents in this that I do relate to more, obviously, that I think are hilarious. But it is genuinely funny because it's very real. I think they tackle a lot of the subjects that they need to, often hard-hitting subjects, but just in a way that will make you laugh your head off.
Nice.
Gillian Anderson, she's phenomenal in this.
Oh, is she? Oh, okay. Right on.
Very, very good.
All right. Anything else that's coming out this week? Shang-Chi is like one of the.
Shang-Chi. I don't know. I'm not sure when that actually airs.
It's in the beginning of September is when it comes out.
Okay. So, but there's more. I'll keep it for next week. There's so much stuff on Netflix at the moment that it's hard to keep up with. What about you?
I agree. There is a ton on Netflix. Probably the one that I'm looking forward to. Well, there's two now. The Witcher, the animated, because that's Nightmare of the Wolf. That You have made me want to. Very excited to see that.
I hope you do like it.
Yeah, I think I
You'd be
will.
like- You'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, no. I trust your judgment. So I'm looking forward to that. There's I think it's Norwegian. It's called Postmortem. No one dies in Skarns. And
Yes, I saw that. Looks interesting.
I think I know where it's headed. I haven't sat down to watch it yet, but just based on the trailers, it's kind of a dark comedy type of thing, but with a bent. So there's one of two ways I think that it's going to go. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm at least looking forward to checking it out. And then Candyman comes out this week. And
okay.
I'm
not sure it comes out here in the UK. I think in the UK it's later.
Is it? Okay. And I remember really enjoying the first one with Tony Todd from...
His voice is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yes. And so I think he does a portion in there. I think he has a cameo in this one, or maybe it's just a voice
so
cameo.
it's not him. Okay.
Yeah, from what I understand, it's not. So I don't know, but it has. Is it Jonathan Majors who is the lead in this? I think. Don't quote me.
Yeah, because that has been pushed back and back.
Yeah, I think it may not be. It's not Jonathan Majors. It's oh goodness, and I can't remember his name, but the guy who played Black Manta in Aquaman, and I've seen him in other. He was in Trial of the Chicago 7, like really good. Like he sells his performance, even if it's a very small role. And so I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking to just see what comes of this. A new modern take on it. See where they go with it.
Yeah, it's got Yahya Abdul Mateen II.
That's him. Yes.
Yeah, fantastic name. Oh my gosh.
Right. Yes. Well, and he's obviously named after somebody if he's the second. So that's even. Yeah. And there's two of them, which is spectacular names. So.
A great cast. Yeah, Coleman Domingo as well. I like him as an actor. He crops up in a lot of stuff that he doesn't seem to play the lead for. He was in Fear the Walking Dead for quite a bit. Okay. Really liked his character. And Nathan Stewart Jarrett, he's a well-known actor as well.
I'd have to see his picture. But
yeah, no, he's totally one of those. You look and you go, I know that guy. I know that dude. Right. So it's not him. Can you have Candyman without Candyman, though?
We'll see.
I guess so.
I think that could really make or break it. I think too that or maybe they craft a world that's so engaging that it's okay to not have that iconic Tony Todd voice.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll find out. But
yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, we've got a lot to cover there.
Yes.
There's one I'd like to mention.
Oh yeah,
if I may, before we go. Do you know of Isaac Asimov?
I know the name, and I know that he does. It's a sci-fi. Yes, has written sci-fi.
Yeah, he does like really chunky sci-fi novels. Apple have done a short series with him called Foundation. It's based on his award-winning novel. Foundation chronicles a band of exiles on the monumental journey to save humanity and rebuild civilization amid the fall of the galactic empire. And so there's. Yeah, it's just like, what is this? It's it's gonna be one of those that could be good because it's Isaac Asimov, so they got a lot of really detailed. But unless they transpose that well, it could really fall by the wayside. So I've got a little faith in Apple. I feel like sometimes Apple go down the route of like A24, more indie, but they craft it and give it a bit of a budget. So it's got the potential, because there's a lot of Netflix stuff where they slap the original thing on Netflix original and it's like a straight to TV movie, straight to DVD even.
Yeah.
And the original doesn't mean that much anymore. So
no, unfortunately not.
You used to be like Netflix original, and now you're like, but is it though? Who did you buy it from? Did you make it?
Yeah. And I think a lot of the time too that they will release it in the US or in another country, but it had already been released a year prior or whatever from another country, and they just bought up the distribution rights. and truly,
like most of their anime, they slap the original Netflix original animes, but there's not. This was in Japan and it's aired last year, and you've just bought the rights. How can you say it's an original?
Exactly.
Anyway, semantics. Yeah, I know. If you own the rights, then it's yours. Okay.
still though,
Fine,
it wasn't.
fine.
It's not from scratch that you started and created.
Exactly.
But okay, so when does this series come out?
It's this year. I don't know if it's September. It's probably October.
Okay.
But it's definitely one to keep your eye out for. I feel like it's going to be quite big. So.
And you said it's like a limited or a
well,
short.
The first 4 episodes are up there now, but I think it has more episodes, so it's probably maybe 8 to 10.
Okay.
In the season.
Okay. Huh. All right, I'm gonna have to check that out. And see.
Yeah.
Right on.
See what you think.
Fun.
Oh, C. Have you? Oh, did you see C?
I did not see C. Sorry, I
Have you
couldn't
seen
help
C?
it.
C.
How did you not see C?
How could you not see C? See, yeah, which is which? It's Momoa. If you like Jason Momoa, you're going to like this. It's him doing his thing in a world where everybody's blind except for one person.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, everybody is blind, so they fight blindly. Ooh. So I never in a million years thought it would be picked up for a second season. And Bautista, from Guardians of the Galaxy, is in the second one. So you got Jason Momoa off like fighting against Bautista, which is like, okay, we're doing like wrestling, but yeah, it should be good because the premise is really interesting.
Nice. Okay. And how is Momoa in that? I mean, like,
excellent.
Okay.
Very good.
Good.
Yeah. He gets a lot. He gets time to be a dad. As his character, he's like the dad, he's like the chief, but also a family man, and the balancing between whether you're leading your group to death, or sometimes he has to pick what the lesser evil. There's no like right choice. And seeing him wrestle with that, he fights really well. We know it because he's a strong character, but he gets time sometimes in the episodes. I feel like TV gives actors some time to play with that more than you do in a film sometimes, which is great.
To give some of more,
because I know he can act. I've seen him in Atlantis. He had like so many episodes where he was just Jason Momoa doing Jason Momoa things. But then occasionally they would give him time to like, hey, let's see what you can do. And I was like, yeah, see, he can act. Yeah.
Nice. Well, and even as bad as, like, for me at least, Sweet Girl was on Netflix that just came out. The beginning of that movie, like, I really enjoyed him. I liked him being more of that vulnerable character, and which then made me impressed more at what he can do. Because, you see this big, hulking, muscular guy, and you're like, okay, so you're going to be in action. That we've seen you do that, and okay, you sell it really well. Like, I believe that, but now can you do anything else? And to see that warmth and that softness to that.
That film upset me because it just needed to stick to one of the paths it was trying to take, and it would have been fine. If it was that sad medical thing, fighting the corporate people and just gone down the depressing route, it would have been fine. We've had films like that with Denzel Washington and John Q, that kind of thriller stuff. But then it wanted to be John Wick. And then suddenly she was Jason Bourne at the end. I was like, how? When? You had some USC fighting, but now you're like the best spy and you have all these skills. Like, you're taking down assassins. What? No.
Yeah. There was and for me, the last fight totally brought me out of it. Just from the realism of she expels all of her air. The massive spoiler warning. It should have already done. Sorry, if you've wanted to watch this, whatever. But it, she expels all of her air underwater, and then she's just, let's go, and then hears her dad's voice in there, and then gets all of this energy again, and has more air to expel, and it's like,
when did that happen?
Yeah, and
you siphon the air from the water.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because her having the strength to continue fighting. That was set up before. I can buy that portion of it that don't give up. And he trains her. Fight dirty. Fights are dirty. You have to continue.
For your life, you do whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's Krav Maga.
Yeah. So, hey, that makes sense. I am on board for that. And even if you were able to overpower him at some point, but just the way that they executed it, and then the villains too were so blah. Like, I just didn't care. But you're right. If I enjoyed. Well, I loved the first part of it, the setup of just all of the emotion that went into that.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was a good movie in there someplace, decent movie in there someplace. I enjoyed the ride, and I personally loved the reveal on the bridge, where I was like, I didn't see that coming.
I did, because I didn't see it coming. But the more I think about it, the more I think that was your way to kind of convince me that there actually is a good movie. And I'm not so sure, because if you didn't have that, would this be a good movie? And then my answer is probably not.
Yeah.
So like, ta-da, we got a twisty ending. Oh, that was cool, because I didn't see it coming. But was it though?
Yeah.
And then you go back and you're, how did you do that?
Yeah.
All by yourself?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And I can see a little bit of it, like the elevator fight scene, I think. Like, I was questioning, I'm like, dude, you're a fighter. Like, Jason Momoa, we've seen you train, and there's the power and everything. How is Justin Bartha, who is much smaller than you, much skinnier than you, how is he able to kind of overpower you or have some
throw you
difficult...
against the wall? Yeah, I was like, wow, he's getting tossed around like a rag doll. It makes sense afterwards.
Yeah. So, yeah, too many problems, I think. Yeah. Anyway, but digressing, Momoa being able
in CC
to have have a softer CC side to him, and hearing that's in C, I want to CC now.
You definitely need to CC, but he can't CC because he's blind. Yeah.
That sounds like an interesting series, regardless.
It is. It's very different.
Nice.
I like unique concepts. I don't think it always sticks the landing, but it's definitely interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, good. I think is that. I don't have anything on my list.
No, I've said all my words now. That's. I've used them all up.
Well, on that note, then, hey, if you have stuck around this long, thank you. We appreciate it. We. Hopefully all throughout, you're commenting, giving us your ideas. What are the best things that you watched this week? Do you agree with what we said? Do you disagree with it? That's totally great. I mean, we want to have these ongoing discussions. And if you have a suggestion for a shorter name, or you can go with the whole Asimov route and make it, 76 words. We probably won't use that, but it will be at least entertaining. So I would love your suggestions.
I'll at least say it once. Yeah,
exactly. We will put it up on the screen, give you credit, and then move on from there. But as always, thanks so much for joining us. Ruben with the Ruby Tuesday. I'm Chris with Movies and Munchies. And we look forward to chatting together and with you next week. Take care.
Yeah, absolutely. Bye.